So really quick disclaimer, the video that you're about to see I made yesterday, Monday, President's Day, with just the intention to post it yesterday as well, but then we decided last minute, Frankie, Ron, and I, to go live to talk about Peacemaker. And so I was like, all right, I'm not gonna post this then. We'll talk about it live on the video, but because we were having audio issues and everything like that, I decided to re-upload this video. So yeah, apologize for the audio issues, but thank you for everybody that did pull up in the live and stuck with us despite the audio issues. And without further ado, here's Past Michael talking in the present. Man, who would have thought after virtually 8 weeks of Peacemaker, I would be so disappointed by the season finale. We didn't get one sex scene between Peacemaker and Vigilante. What? Welcome to My Safe Gaming. Thank you guys so much for clicking on my channel and clicking on this video and joining me for another review of Peacemaker here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. If this is your first time checking me out, seeing one of my videos, seeing this face, hey, how's it going? My name is Michael. I am the Black Gay Comic Geek. I always say the things that I love to talk about in my fantasy and on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So I like to talk about superheroes. I like to talk about comic books. I like to talk about video games. I like to talk about sci-fi movies. I like to talk action movies. I like to talk fantasy, and I like to talk black representation and queer representation. So if that's something that you're interested in, hopefully you become a regular here on the channel. If you could do me a favor and hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, if you could do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and become a safe gaveneer here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. But like I said, whether it's your first time or you've been here for a while, you already know the drill. Do me a favor and hit the like button. It'll really help with the YouTube algorithm and getting this video and my channel out there. So yeah, we're here to talk about the season finale of Peacemaker. Episode 8, it's Cow or Never. And yeah, we're talking spoilers, full-on spoilers. So obviously, if you haven't seen episode 8 of Peacemaker, you're going to be spoiled. So yeah. So episode 8, it's Cow or Never. The synopsis is, with Peacemaker and Adebayo at odds, can the team kill the cow, or will this fracture give the aliens the opening they need to teleport the cow away, thus giving them the opportunity to continue their world domination? And I know I kind of joked in the intro of this video where I just said this episode was kind of disappointing. Well, I'll get to that because I was a little disappointed in this episode, but we'll get to that later. I'll table that. But like, I feel like with these types of shows, or with this show in particular, like I'm all over the place in terms of like my enjoyment and then also disappointment of it. Like, you know how they say I'm an onion, I have layers. So I have layers to how I watch this show. Like on the one hand, I absolutely love it and I'm here for it. I'm super excited about season 2, and I am. But then on the other hand, I'm just like, why would you do that? Why didn't you do that? Like, I just have competing sides to me. The black side, the gay side, like the comic book side, the nerd side, like all of them are competing and conflicting with each other with regards to this show. But overall, I love this season finale. I enjoyed this series and I can't wait for season 2. But yeah, so let's get into it. So the episode opens with Adebayo trying to apologize to Peacemaker for basically framing him to take the fall against everything that this new version of Task Force X has been doing this entire season. And of course, Peacemaker's not having that, and they're making fart jokes and the banter between the two of them. And while the scene itself was funny, the scene itself was interesting, the scene itself was enjoyable, again, my conflicting sides, my black side is like, I do not like how they have written the character of Adebayo throughout this season. I thought, or maybe I just had a preconceived notion of how I thought her character was going to be, and maybe I just need to drop that, and maybe if I drop that, maybe I'll appreciate her character even more. But then I'm just like, yeah, but like, you have the one main black character in the show, because obviously Myrn is dead. Spoilers, but I did say we're talking spoilers. And really the only main black woman in the show, and yet her character has basically been portrayed as being a buffoon for the entire season. And it's just really like giving me Sambo vibes. I don't know. And I hate feeling this way because I'm like, just enjoy it. But it's like, I can't. Especially when it's like all these things compiling. Like she's on a spy team and she's not qualified to be a spy. She's basically a freaking, what was she? She was the supervisor of a dog clinic. So why is she there? They made her seem like she's super important. She's the daughter of Amanda Waller. Amanda Waller talked about all these skills that she has, but it turns out she doesn't have any skills to be on a spy team. That was just, I don't know, Amanda Waller hoping for the best for her daughter. I don't know what that was, but she has no skills. She's not the smartest on the team. And then like you get to this episode, they played her to be a joke with like the human torpedo moment and everything that happened in this, like, or even when she was like, I saw Eagly hugging Peacemaker and I saw it as a sign that I needed to participate. And Hardcore was like, how do you know it wasn't a sign for you to just leave? And she's like, oh, fuck. And it's like, again, it's a joke and almost kind of what, like, I don't know. I didn't like the way they wrote and portrayed her character. I thought Danielle Brooks is doing, or I think Danielle Brooks is doing a great job portraying her. But I'm just like, again, it's going back to my concept or my notion of before that the only reason her character is there is to make Chris, Peacemaker, seem not as bad, not as racist. Because without her, I feel like he would just be pretty much an asshole. Like he somewhat humanizes her. So let's have this black woman. The only reason she's there is to humanize this straight white man or kind of straight white man. I'll get to that later. Now, I want to get this out the way because for whatever reason, nuance does not exist on the internet. If you criticize something, that means you hate it. If you say you enjoyed something, that means you have absolutely no criticisms. I love season 1 of Peacemaker. I will go back and watch every single episode of Peacemaker, but these are just the things that I had a problem with that I am voicing here on the YouTube channel. But yeah, I just felt the need to say that because again, nuance does not exist in the internet. I still loved it either way. I can still have critical thought while still enjoying something. Speaking of enjoying something, James Gunn really loves the performance of Robert Patrick, who plays Peacemaker's father, the White Dragon, Augie Smith. And I was just like, well, you don't cast the T-1000 and not use him. So I'm not surprised that even though his character was killed or unalived in the last episode, that he's still sticking around as a ghost within his son's head. And actually, I really enjoy that and really like that because one of my criticisms is something I was hoping that they wouldn't do is to try to blame all of Peacemaker's negative traits and racism just solely on his father. And then once he kills his father, because I knew they were going to end up unaliving his father because I'm like, he's a super racist. He's basically part of the Klan. Of course they're going to kill him off. But I was hoping that once that happened, they wouldn't just absolve Peacemaker of all his past sins and be like, oh no, that was just solely on his father. We're not going to deal with that anymore. Especially with the way trauma works. Like, it's not just going to go away just because the other person is no longer here. Whether, granted, I can't speak for like a murder, but even if that person is long gone, that trauma is still going to stick with you. So I'm glad to see within the comic book sense, it's literally sticking with him. And plus, you know, to see more of the actor, even though I hate the character, I still love the way the actor is portraying him. Although part of me is still like, especially when it comes to like old white people, if they got to pretend to be or when they're acting to be super racist. And a part of me is like, how much of that is acting? I mean, come on. But you know who else was made mad uncomfortable? Economos, where he had to sneak into the barn of the butterflies, and we learned that in actuality, all that talk about his beard being, or Peacemaker calling him dye beard, it was true. He did dye his beard, and he had this scene that was just like, yeah, I did it because I wanted to feel better about myself. I didn't think anybody would notice, and it almost brought him to tears. And you learned more about his character through that when it made Peacemaker, like he should, it made him feel like shit. Which again, I love when indirectly or directly these characters continue to call out the character of Peacemaker. Because it's like, yeah, you're not as good as you think you are. But I feel like for the most part, most people can be redeemed. It's just how much work are you willing to put in? Especially in a fantasy context. Like if I can root for Spike and Angel despite the hundreds of years of murder, torture, almost destroying the world and things, I mean, at a certain point, I could root for Peacemaker. So, and I do root for Peacemaker. I just want them to give me you know, continue to like have him work at being a better person, as opposed to just saying, yeah, Adebayo, yeah, I don't think you're a bad guy. Okay, and then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, he's not a bad guy. No, I need more than that. But yeah, but the action at the end of this episode where they were going full on against the butterflies, like the action sequence was great with the music. I forgot what song was playing, but I thought all of that was great, and it was filmed wonderfully, and it had me hyped. And it also goes to show like how hardcore, vigilante, like all of them are badass. And speaking of badass, like the moment that shocked the internet, like when Adebayo first mentioned the Justice League at the beginning of this episode, like of course you just thought it was an Easter egg to show, hey, this is the DCEU, they're still in the same universe or whatever, but I never thought in a million years that I would actually see the Justice League, especially in a show called Peacemaker. But I guess you should never underestimate the power of James Gunn. He got the freaking Justice League. Now, granted, obviously they couldn't get Gal Gadot or Henry Cavill. We still don't even know what is going on with Henry Cavill in the DCEU. Is he Superman? Is he not Superman? Are they recasting? And obviously, of course, they're not doing Batman, Ben Affleck, because he's no longer Batman. But it was actually Jason Momoa as Aquaman, and it was actually Ezra Miller as the Flash, but you still saw Wonder Woman and Superman to show that they still existed in the world. And then not only that, but because Peacemaker is rated R, Jason Momoa as Aquaman actually cursed. And I'm just like, if DC can do it with Aquaman, why can't Marvel do it with Blade and Deadpool? I mean, they did say they're gonna make Deadpool rated R, but then they were like, we're not gonna do a rated R Blade. And I'm like, just do like they do in the comics. When Wolverine is in his own solo comic, it's very rated R. But then when he's with the X-Men, it's not rated R. Same thing with Deadpool. When he's in his comics are very rated R. But then when he's with like, when he cameos on the X-Men or Spider-Man or anything like that, it's not as rated R. You could do both. Just like they did with Peacemaker. He dropped the F-bomb, but then when he's in the Justice League, he's not dropping F-bombs. But also with that, DC still trash, because you know who else was notably missing from the Justice League besides Batman? Cyborg. And I don't necessarily blame James Gunn for that, because that's probably something that's way above his head and way above his pay grade. But even still, like, because obviously that wasn't Gal Gadot and that wasn't Henry Cavill. They could have got another black actor to do a stand-in for Cyborg, but they didn't. So DC still trash, or rather the DCEU is still trash for what they did with Ray Fisher, especially after everything that happened and everything that's come out to show that, yeah, he was right about everything, and yet he's still more or less being punished. Like, has he really been in anything since the Justice League? I know he's had like smaller roles and things, but I mean like a major movie. I don't think so. But yeah, but the connection, the shared universe, that's what we want as DC fans. They keep trying to separate everything, and I'm like, Warner Brothers and DC movies have existed since like the Christopher Reeve movies in the 70s, going even back even further to the Batman movies, the Superman television show with George Reeves. Like, we've always had DC characters, the Wonder Woman show with Linda Carter. Like, we've always had DC characters around, but we never seen the shared universe until Batman v Superman. That was the first time that we saw Batman and Superman in a movie together, despite Warner Brothers always having the rights to their characters. Now, granted, I wasn't a big fan of Batman v Superman. I wasn't a big fan of the Justice League. Granted, I like the Snyder Cut better, but the second half still wasn't that good. And obviously, if you need a 4-hour movie to be good, and you can't, like, I don't know, it's just a whole lot of stuff behind the way they handled the DCEU. But that doesn't mean I still don't want to see these characters interact with each other. That I don't want to see an expanded, shared DC Universe world. And so when I got to see that in this episode of Peacemaker, like, that had me hype. And it still made me go, like, I wish the DCEU would get it together. Because even with Superman, we're still not getting a Man of Steel 2. We don't know what's going on with Superman. They're already rebooting Batman with Robert Pattinson's Batman. But then we're also getting a Michael Keaton Batman in the Flash movie. But Ben Affleck is also showing up in that movie. I get they're trying to do the multiverse as well. Which is funny how Marvel ended up beating DC with regards to the multiverse. And yet they've been talking about this Flash movie for like years. But either way, it's like we're getting a Batgirl, but does this Batgirl movie connect with Robert Pattinson's Batman? Who knows? We're getting a Supergirl movie or whatever, but does she connect with Henry Cavill? Like, I want to see these characters interact and intersect with each other. But overall, like, I love this episode, but this is what I wanted to get into. Speaking of interacting and intersecting, going to the intro of this video and the reason I was like, also why I was disappointed besides the out of bio thing. So James Gunn, if you also remember from the line from Peacemaker's father, James Gunn actually confirmed that Peacemaker is actually bisexual, and it was John Cena who made that decision to make Peacemaker bisexual. And that's why in episode 7, you had the line where Peacemaker's father said you slept with the whores of Babylon and men. So that was a little hint or Easter egg or whatever, subtext dropped that Peacemaker is bisexual. He does have sex with men. And they kind of hinted at it in like episode 1 when he was like, I haven't had sex with women since I've been in prison, implying that he's had sex with men. But at the same time, I'm like, again, this is straight people wanting to, and I told this, and I made this video on my TikTok. Follow me on TikTok for like other commentary outside of movie reviews. But I'm like, this is once again straight people wanting to be congratulated for doing the bare minimum. And I'm like, this is Loki all over again by coming out and saying, yeah, Loki's bisexual, but the first time we see him have any type of romantic pairing, it's with the opposite sex, creating another heteronormative narrative. And yes, because I got criticized for this before, in real life, when it comes to being bisexual, you can be in an opposite sex relationship and still be bisexual. You don't have to show your queerness outwardly, but this isn't real life. This is a fantasy story with fantasy characters telling a fantasy narrative that's crafted by writers and directors and set designers, etc., etc. And they're constantly choosing to tell these heteronormative narratives, but when it comes to same-sex representations, representation equals normalization. You're saying Peacemaker's bisexual, but not at one point throughout this entire season did we see him have any inkling of being attracted to men other than that line from his father. Same thing with Loki. People make the argument like, of course it's in Loki's character for him to be so narcissistic that he falls in love with himself or a version of himself. Yes, that's true. But the only version that he's fallen in love with was Sylvie, the only representation of a female version of Loki. Not at one moment did he see another variant of himself and is like, oh, hey, check him out, or I'm in love with him. Like when we saw President Loki in episode, what was it, 5? That was a perfect opportunity to be like, hey, how's it going? Nothing. It's only Sylvie. Again, creating a heteronormative narrative. So that's also a big criticism of mine. I'm like, with the way Vigilante is so in love, more or less, with Peacemaker, obsessed with Peacemaker, I'm like, I'm sure he would totally be down. And then also, like, I've shown this before, you know, out there, look at Freddie Stroma. Like, how can Peacemaker be bisexual and not want to tap that? I want to tap, like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I'm pretty sure Vigilante would be down for it. I mean, we already saw that scene in, what was it, episode 2, where the two of them were in bed together with another woman. Like, you could maybe say, well, maybe they did have sex at that point, but, or you could also say, like, oh, the two of them just tag team that woman, and you could just easily ignore it, as opposed to, like, the show ending with the two of them, like, on a give me a sex scene. And then I also saw James Gunn release the article. He was like, I don't understand why people are shipping Vigilante and Peacemaker. Like, Peacemaker doesn't seem like he wants to be in a relationship with Vigilante. He's annoyed by Vigilante. I'm like, nobody said a relationship, but at least bang, 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 bang. Rest in peace, John Witherspoon. But yeah, that's it, Peacemaker. Other than that, like, I loved the series for the most part, other than my criticisms. And I would still, despite my criticisms, overall say, because this Peacemaker was a huge surprise. I was not looking forward to this show, and the fact that this show got me hooked, it got me looking forward to every single episode, it got me excited about every single episode, it got me really liking John Cena's portrayal of Christopher Smith, and really got me looking forward to season 2. I would say for me, season 1 of Peacemaker, again, despite my criticisms, is a blockbuster. See, look at that nuance. I could have things that I dislike about the show and I'm disappointed about the show, but still really love it. But anyway, enough about me talking. The question is, what did you guys think about episode 8 of Peacemaker? What did you guys think about this season of Peacemaker? Do you have a favorite episode of Peacemaker? Let me know all of those thoughts. What was that? Let me know all of those thoughts in the comment section below. Also, if you can't hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out with the channel, and this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. And if you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.